Let's talk about music. So I knew that you were in a band. We talked about this when I interviewed you a few years ago.
Yeah.
It was the Sharks, Dennis Quaid and the Sharks. So how
That's right.
now have we parlayed this into gospel, into something more about your faith?
Well, gospel music is, I love gospel music. And, I grew up in the Baptist church, and a lot of those hymns, 5 of which are on the record, I loved, that I picked. And I wrote a song after I got out of what I call cocaine school back in 1990. And when I got off that, it was that leaves a big hole in you, actually, even though you're not using it. It takes a while to really get to feeling like, a human being. You're gnawing your teeth, and you've got to fill that hole. And, that's in AA or whatever, they call it a higher power. But it's really God. It's really the Spirit you've got to fill that hole with, and that's the only thing that really fills that hole. And I wrote this song called "On My Way to Heaven," which I wrote it for my mother because to let her know I was okay, and it's the whole record really is a spiritual journey, not just from that time, but from growing up as a kid. And hopefully I think people will relate to it because it's I think it's hopefully universal in that it is the story of a spiritual journey.
Well, what I like about it is, it reminds me when I first started at Fox News, we were basically funded by these Christy Lane commercials. And he'd have this Christy Lane thing, like singing about faith as she was on she was oceanfront as the sunset went down, and she had the flowing dress and the 1980s hair. And, Christy Lane had never committed a sin in her life. That's how it sort of appeared. This is very different, Dennis. This is basically like, there have been quite a few missteps, but I fall into a soft place thanks to you.
Well, I titled the album "Fallen," and it's "Fallen," a gospel album for sinners, because I wanted to have the broadest possible audience with it, and that's it's my story in a way. It's got the church aspect, but it's also got a little bit of the outlaw thing with it.
We have a little bit from Fallen. The words are really beautiful. You talk about feeling so ashamed. Let's let the audience take a listen. Fallen.
But bad things happen to good people when you're riding with the devil on a foggy night. Now I'm falling, feeling so ashamed. All I want to do is go back home.
Now you reference getting out of cocaine school, but a lot of the audience may not even be aware of this chapter of your life. It may just be looking at you as this huge movie star who's made 75 movies and is in a household name, and you're rich and you're famous, but you know of what you speak.
During the 80s, that was part of the 80s. That's back when we were all having blind fun or thought we were. It was fun, and then fun with problems, and then just problems with that. And I had one of those white light experiences where I kind of saw myself either dead or in jail or losing everything I had and worked for. And so I checked myself into a rehab facility. That was back before they had the ones with couches and pools and stuff like that. And
hardcore.
Yeah. And it was 30 days, and I was lucky I got it. And, I spent pretty much the next kind of 4 years kind of grinding my teeth. And so I started, I read the Bible again, cover to cover. And I was really struck by the red words of Jesus. And as a kid, I'd grown up in the Baptist church, but I got disillusioned with what I saw, kind of hypocritical, or churchianity, as I call it. And it would have these nice sayings and everything, but people were doing things, they weren't living them out, or at least in my mind. And but the problem was with me. And but I not only the Bible, but I read the Dhammapada, I read the Bhagavad Gita, I read the Quran, and I was what you call a seeker, I guess, looking for something. And it came back to the red words of Jesus in the New Testament that really struck me and really hit my heart, and opened up a whole new world. And he became my personal savior. There's a much different relationship.
Do you guys remember when I had RFK Jr. on my show and he discussed his presidential campaign and his book, The Real Anthony Fauci? I remember. And I got to say, a lot of the things RFK is trying to expose are downright frightening. I'm not saying he's right on this or wrong on that, but what I am saying is you should be aware of this and what RFK Jr. has written about, what he's been alleging. And now you can do it very easily. You can watch the movie adaptation of his book for free. That's right. The folks over at Revealed Films have turned the Real Anthony Fauci book into a movie. See Fauci's questionable behavior, to put it mildly, and motives during the AIDS crisis for yourself. Learn as they dive into his $2 billion plus Department of Defense funding and the damages related to his collaboration with Bill Gates. And don't forget how he shunned all sorts of inexpensive solutions to COVID. This guy now being threatened with criminal charges by Rand Paul. Go watch the movie and make up your own mind for yourself. For a limited time only, watch this movie for free at therealanthonyfaucimovie.com. Therealanthonyfaucimovie.com. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.